So M3GAN 2.0 is finally here, the sequel to the surprisingly good first movie. Like when most of us saw that trailer for the first film, I think it's pretty safe to say that most of us thought it wasn't going to be very good. Honestly, after seeing it, I kind of like to say M3GAN's the little movie that could. Because most of us thought it was just going to be Blumhouse Slop, which is pretty fair to say because Blumhouse is very hit or miss with their horror movies. But it honestly was pretty decent. M3GAN ended up being just a fun little campy little horror film that didn't take itself too seriously. Obviously it has inspirations from Child's Play and Chucky, but it honestly felt like its own thing in its own right too. With that being said, the promotional material for M3GAN 2.0 are pretty interesting to say the least. Based off the promotional material alone for this movie, you could say it doubles down or even triples down on the campiness and goofiness from the first movie. Now the question is, does that work for this movie? Well, let's get into it. In M3GAN 2.0, there's a new big bad AI android on the block, and her name's Amelia. In order to take out this new AI threat, Amelia, the aunt and niece duo from the first film, Katie and Gemma, resurrect M3GAN to help take her out. As far as plot details go, that's all you really need to know. First off, I want to point out, this movie isn't campy and goofy as the trailers make it out to be. Like, the campiness and goofiness from the first film is certainly there, but it never goes to the extreme like the trailers make it out to be. Like, I honestly thought this movie was going to completely jump the shark and go into next level camp, but it never really does. I would say it's on the same level of camp as the first M3GAN was. Like, I would even say it's surprisingly grounded in parts. Like, they try to expand on the aunt and niece relationship of Gemma and Katie from the first movie. Like, they have this kind of cliche, you don't really understand me, I don't really fully understand you kind of relationship in the movie. Like, Katie wants to start getting into computer science and technology and all that other stuff, but Gemma doesn't really want her to because of everything that happened with M3GAN in the first movie. It's honestly pretty typical parental tension you see in these kind of movies, but at least they tried to add some depth to this relationship. It honestly surprised me a little bit because I thought this movie was going to go full on camp. Next, as the trailers clearly present, this movie is not horror focused at all. I honestly don't even remember a scene where it really even attempts to be a horror movie. With this movie, they definitely triple down on the action and sci-fi, and for the most part, it usually worked. Like, some of the action set pieces in this movie are honestly really fun. Like, there's this whole big action sequence that takes place in this AI convention, and that's honestly probably the highlight of the entire movie. It's the same scene where you see M3GAN get that pink armor and that weird wig from the trailer. Not only that, but the AI villain gets this whole new futuristic AI armor as well. There's this big old AI fight between the two and everyone else as they wear these cool armors. It honestly felt like something out of Tron or something. The armor the main villain gets is honestly really cool. And other than that, there's this big action set piece at the very end of the movie. And that's honestly when this movie's at its best. When this movie's partaking in its well choreographed and shot action scenes, this is when this movie's a lot of fun. Like, at one point in the movie, the M3GAN's trying to not kill anybody she's trying to fight, and it leads to some very fun choreography. She's throwing chairs and kicking tables so she doesn't actually end up killing anybody. With that being said, when this movie's not partaking in its over-the-top action sequences, it honestly can feel a little bit slow. I mean, the movie's actually genuinely pretty long. The movie clocks in at just about 2 hours, and it honestly kind of feels like it at sometimes. Like, if they cut back on what feels like filler at times, this movie would have been a lot more enjoyable as a whole. Like, they could have cut out at least 20 minutes of this movie and it honestly absolutely would have been fine. Like, this movie honestly feels like it's trying to do too much at one time. It even has like 3 different antagonists. You have the main AI villain, Amelia. Then you have this really over-the-top CEO who's trying really hard to push AI. That CEO character, played by Jamie Clement, by the way, is honestly probably some of the highlight of this movie in terms of comedy. He has some of the most funny scenes in the entire movie. And then finally after that, there's this FBI character going after them for the M3GAN technology. I actually just remember there's a 4th villain in this movie. I won't spoil that last one, but as you can see, this movie's trying to do a little bit too much at one time. Like, there's so many antagonists to keep track of and what they're doing and where they're from and plot threads that come up from whatever they are going after M3GAN and the main characters for. And that's the point in this movie where it feels like there's just too much going on. Too much going on, too much villains to remember, which eventually leads to the movie feeling a little bit bloated by the end of the movie. Overall, though, I would say M3GAN 2.0 is a fairly enjoyable. Some of the action set pieces are really fun. The comedy usually hits more often than it flops. The movie just needed to be overall shorter and smaller in scale. With that being said, I would say it's a decent enough sequel and a pretty decent overall AI action sci-fi thriller. I would say it's worth seeing, but probably just wait until Discount Tuesday.